In bass fishing, I honestly think the most important thing that you can do is learn how to cover water effectively. And in today's video, I want to show you exactly how to do that. So stay tuned, it's going to be a good one. I'm up here in Minnesota and I was driving to a lake this morning when another lake caught my attention. Literally out of the corner of my eye, I was like, man, that lake looks good. I turned around, I found a boat ramp and I put in the water. Now I have never been to this body of water. I don't even know what it is called, but the first thing that I do when I get to a body of water is I pick up search lures and I start covering water. Now, one thing that I've noticed in a lot of different lakes is that if you don't know where to go, don't go far at all. And I literally started right at the boat ramp this morning. I put in the water and I noticed that across from the boat ramp, there was a lot of beautiful looking scum mats. So of course I picked up a frog and I just started covering water. Now, what I mean by covering water is I'm going to keep my trolling motor on a medium to high speed and a constant speed, and I'm going to simply fish the high percentage targets that I see with my own two eyes. Now, depending on what the body of water you're fishing looks like, a high percentage area can mean a lot of different things. It could mean a dock, it could mean a point, it could mean an overhanging tree. But as you can see, as I'm going down the bank, I'm covering water and I'm not casting every 5 feet to try to cover this water. I am literally just seeking out the high percentage areas. Now, in this scum mat, what I define as a high percentage area was anywhere other cover mixed with that scum mat. So whether that was a lily pad or a different type of grass or an overhanging tree. And I also focused my attention on points that were in these scum mats. Now, fortunately, within about 20 minutes of fishing, this is what happened. So as you can see, I caught a good fish, but although we kind of want to celebrate that moment, this is really when the work starts of fishing. This is really when I want to analyze everything that happened with that fish, where it was, how I caught it, everything. And looking at this fish catch, it was in a scum mat, but as you can see, there was a lay down that was in that scum mat, and that is where that fish was. So now in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, maybe these fish want a lay down to be in the scum mat. So at this point, my mind is really focused on trees and lay downs that are in these scum mats. But anytime I catch one fish, the other thing that I like to do is simply slow down, put the brakes on it, and then really cover that water that's really close to that fish very effectively, because sometimes in bass fishing you're going to find patterns, and sometimes in bass fishing you're going to find spots. And so you never know when you're just going to find that magical stretch or that magical area where a lot of bass are, and they may not be relating to a certain type of cover or structure, they're just in an area. So I always like to put the brakes on for 15 minutes and fish everything in that area, making multiple casts and really just covering that water effectively. Now, if I hit that 15-minute mark and I don't catch another fish, that is when I kick the trolling motor back on high, and now I start to think of the pattern that I may be establishing, which is wood around the scum. Now, although this one fish may be the start of a pattern, I still have to keep a really open mind at this point, because that fish could also be what we call a fluke fish. Maybe it was just a random fish, you know, that I just happened to pick up, and I don't want that random fish to steer me in a wrong way. So as I'm going down the bank, I'm still trying to keep my mind open, but I am also thinking about that wood cover that might be in the scum. So I am really still doing a lot of different things. I mean, I picked up a topwater, I picked up a chatterbait, I picked up a flipping stick. I'm not exactly honing in. I'm still trying to keep an open mind. So as I'm going down the bank, I get to this big overhanging willow tree, and there's actually no scum mat in this area. And I went ahead and I skipped my frog up under there, and that's a freaking good one. Look at that chunk. Before we examine this second fish catch, I want to thank today's sponsor, which is sportsmansoutfitters.com. In this video, I am using a Spro Poppin' Frog to catch bass. If you look at Sportsman's Outfitters, this frog is only $9.99. Pretty much anywhere else you look online, you're going to pay $11 or $12 for this exact same frog. Not only will you find frogs at a better rate, but pretty much any tackle that you need, you can find the best price at Sportsman's Outfitters. So if you guys would like to help support the Bass Fishing HQ channel, click the links down below in the description and pick you up some tackle today.
Gosh, they are so healthy.
All right, so now this is the second fish caught. So now I'm trying to see, do these two bass that I've caught, do they correlate in some way? Do they have some similarities to them as to where they were? Now, the first similarity is they were both caught on a frog. So I know that these fish may be eating a frog. The other similarity is that the fish were both kind of by wood cover or overhanging trees of some sort. So I'm still thinking wood cover might be the deal. The other thing that I noticed is that there was actually no scum mat in this general area. So maybe you don't have to have a scum mat. So now this second fish catch, in my mind, really kind of wants me to focus on trees and wood cover in general. But I believe that one fish is a fluke, two fish could be a coincidence, but three fish is a pattern. So again, I'm still gonna remain a little bit open-minded at this point. I'm still fishing a lot of docks. I'm fishing pretty much everything that I consider a high percentage area. But in the back of my mind, I know that if I get one more bite around kind of an overhanging tree or wood cover, then it's probably a pattern that I can start running all around the lake. So after this fish catch, I do the exact same thing that I did before. I'm going to fish this general area really well for 15 minutes. And actually within that 15-minute time zone, this actually happens. Ooh, it's a smallie. So as you can see there, I actually caught a smallmouth, and I caught it on a drop shot on a bridge. And so in my mind, my thought process is this is probably not an area that's holding a lot of bass because these are really two completely different patterns. I caught a largemouth that was really shallow, and then I caught a smallmouth that was in a little bit deep water on that bridge piling. But again, I'm absorbing everything that this third fish catch is telling me. And one, I didn't even know that there were smallmouth in this particular area, but now I know that there are smallmouth in this area. The other thing is that this was one of the only bridges in that area. So maybe bridges are a key, or maybe rock that is next to these pilings is a key. This is all the stuff that just runs through my head as I'm trying to go out there and establish an area or a pattern. Now, I honestly thought that I was going to catch a lot of smallmouth on this one bridge, but as you can see, I spent 15 minutes and I really covered pretty much every stretch of pilings and I didn't get another bite. So I end up picking up that frog again, and I actually can see a couple of trees in the distance that I want to go and fish. And so I start heading over to those trees and skipping my frog up under those trees. Now, as I am actually fishing in this general area, something dawned on me that I actually didn't think about with my first two fish catches. As I'm looking down into the water, I noticed that I'm actually in pretty shallow water. I'm sitting in about 3 foot of water. I can easily see the bottom. And as you can see, I'm making pretty long casts to the bank. So this area is pretty flat. And although I have a tree there and some scum mat, which kind of fits the pattern, it's actually a very flat bank. And it dawned on me at that point that those two largemouth that I had caught, I was actually sitting fairly close to the bank and I was still in about 6 to 8 foot of water. So that is actually another piece of the puzzle that I kind of missed. But now in my mind, I'm really thinking, not only do I need to find wood cover and a scum mat and shade, but I also need to find a little bit of depth in order to possibly get bit. So as you can see here, I start covering a lot of water. I'm approaching this one random area where I can see some trees, and I thought that it was actually shallow water and I was going to skip it, but then I looked down on my trolling motor and saw that I was actually in 7 foot of water. And so now this fits the bill. This fits the pattern. I have deep water, I have overhanging trees or laydowns, and I have a little bit of a scum mat. So I pull up to this first little tree here, and I go ahead and I skip my frog up under there, and Bam. As you can see now, I have kind of put all the pieces of the puzzle together. This is now the third fish that I've caught, kind of doing pretty much the same thing. And now in my mind, I have established a pattern. For the rest of the day, I can really just start looking at an area. I can see if it has the right depth, the right cover. And at that point, that helps you to eliminate 95% of the water that I had been fishing, because I had been wasting a lot of time fishing really shallow stuff and long, big mats. And now I know exactly what to look for so that I can start running a pattern. This is exactly how you cover water. Now, although I feel like I have established a pattern, still with every single fish catch, I'm going to fish that immediate area for at least 15 minutes, because what I've seen across the nation is you will find just little areas that have clusters of bass, and you might find one area that has 10 or 15 bass literally in a 20 or 30 yard area. So I don't want to miss that, because especially in a tournament situation, you might be able to come there and get a limit every single day in a very small area. So I fished this area pretty hard for about 15 minutes. And as you can see here, if you look up just above the boat, there's kind of these bigger rocks. This is something that I haven't seen anywhere on the body of water since I've been fishing. And it actually kind of reminded me of the bridge in the riprap where I'd caught that smallmouth. So I am thinking maybe I can establish another pattern. So I go ahead and I bend down, I pick up my drop shot again, and I fire it out there in a little bit deeper water, and smallmouth. So although I do not land that smallmouth, and this is not necessarily a bridge, there are some similarities here, because both of these smallmouth actually came out of about 8 to 10 foot of water right next to rock cover. So now I'm starting to establish a pattern for smallmouth. I've kind of established a pattern for largemouth, and now I'm on the way for smallmouth. To me, these are the videos that are extremely important in learning how to find and catch bass. So if you guys enjoyed this kind of style of video, I did another one that I'm gonna link right here, where I basically cram about 4 hours of fishing time into about 12 minutes and really try to start establishing a pattern. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, comment below, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next video.